What is up, guys? This is Rise, and welcome to another video where I'm going to be taking you through all my thoughts, my strategies, and my amazing weekend in Knoxville, Tennessee, where I was able to capture the regional championship in Pokemon GO. Pretty awesome. The win makes me the first person to actually win 2 Pokemon GO regionals or play Pokemon GO regionals in the Masters division. There's been a lot of people that have won a regional. There's been multiple people that have gotten first and second. For example, Lurgid Rocket won one last year, got runner-up this year. Dunebug got runner-up last year, won one this year. Valiant Vish won one last year, got runner-up this year, or maybe vice versa. So a lot of people have gotten like first and second. Some people have, like Moweedle, for example, have won Seniors Division Championships and then this year Masters Division Championships. So put like an asterisk by it if you want. People have virtually done pretty much the same thing or gotten super close to doing the same thing. But technically, first person to win 2 play Pokemon regionals is pretty cool feeling. And got my second championship medal here and the champion play mat. So that's all the flexing for today, and we're gonna get into the battles from the stream. So here we go. This was my first match on stream. I had played 2 matches before this, so this is winners round 3 of group 3. And I should also, before we get into the battles, show you my team of 6. But I was in the morning group. I was in Group B. So we got there around 8:30 a.m. We started the battles around 9 a.m. And I've got my team that it's also on the screen, but I can show it for you here. Only 10 IC was the name of my tag for the team. And we've got fairly standard, right? Fairly meta with Noctowl, Trevenant, and G-Fist. Those are probably 3 of the most common Pokemon you'll see. And then maybe some of like the second tier meta picks on my team included Azumarill, Shadow Swampert, and Shadow Alolan Ninetales with the Powder Snow as the fast move. And basically, my thought process behind this team, of course, Noctowl and Trevenant are pretty standard. I don't know if I need to like explain those too much, but Noctowl, probably the best flyer in the game right now. A great, with that normal typing, a great counter to Ghost type Pokemon. Trevenant, I think, is the best Grass type in the game, and it also is able to beat things like Registeel and G-Fisk, and can counter Medicham quite nicely, which is on pretty much every team. So I think Trevenant is really underrated still. And then I went with G-Fisk as opposed to Registeel. I've gone with Registeel in my past 2 regionals. One reason I really like Registeel is because you can safe swap it. And if you get that Zap Cannon debuff, it's actually going to be able to force a shield off Medicham. So I love Registeel as a safe swap. I elected to go with G-Fisk for this tournament because my team, I felt like I needed the G-Fisk for the extra Registeel coverage, right? Because if I go with a Registeel in that slot, well, then all of a sudden I have like 3 things that are really weak to Registeel in George, aka Noctowl, Azumarill, and Alolan Ninetales, and then I have 2 counters and then 1 neutral. So I felt like G-Fisk gave me extra Reggie coverage, and it also gave me extra Lantern coverage because G-Fisk is a little bit more threatening to Lantern than Registeel is. Otherwise, Trevenant would really be my only punish to Lantern, versus G-Fisk does quite well there. As long as you have a good G-Fisk, it should live 2 Surfs with enough health where you're not going to get sparked down. And then Swampert does fine against Lantern, but it's like a little bit bait dependent, a little bit awkward, because 2 Surfs is going to knock out your Swampert, and you're going to really need to land that Earthquake or just spam off Hydro Cannons and keep shielding, because I think you do win the 2 shield straight Hydro. So that was the reason for G-Fisk, and I actually kind of built this team around Shadow Swampert. That's what I started with, and I love Shadow Swampert because not a lot of teams had a solid answer for it. I mean, Trevenant is the most common hard punish to Swampert, but even if I take this off the footage, like you can see my first match that was on stream, Trevenant's his only hard response to Shadow Swampert. Swampert has play against everything else or beats everything else, and I felt like it's a really good sweeper Pokemon, potentially even a good safe switch, right? Because you could safe switch it. Worst case, you lure out like a Trevenant. They take a Hydra, they Seed Bomb you, then you farm down with Noctowl, and it's like now you're basically where you were before, but you have energy on Noctowl. So I love Shadow Swampert for that reason, and I also have a few things in like Noctowl and Alolan Shadow Ninetales that are able to lure out G-Fisk on the swap and soft lose, and then give Swampert a mud shot down. So that was kind of my strategy behind this team. I also put in a Azumarill kind of at the last minute instead of Lantern. I had Lantern in that spot, but rather than have like the extra Noctowl hard punish, I wanted a Azumarill for just a little bit more G-Fisk coverage, a little bit more Umbreon coverage, because without the Azumarill, my only counter to Umbreon was really Alolan Ninetales, and with Powder Snow, that matchup isn't the most comfortable, because if Umbreon shields Powder Snows, if Umbreon shields Dazzling Gleams, suddenly it starts to become a bit of a sketchy matchup, because 2 Last Resorts plus the Snarl damage is pretty much going to knock out your Alolan Ninetales. So that's the strategy behind the team. I elected to go with no Medicham, and that was maybe the spiciest thing about this team. It's like pretty standard, right? 3 very meta picks, 3 like second tier meta picks, and no Medicham or no counter user. So the reason for that is I used to use Obstagoon in the past because I loved Obstagoon as a core breaker when a lot of people were running double ghost teams with Trev Sableye, or they were running Lickitung. But Noctowl has pushed a lot of those teams out of the meta. You're typically only going to see 1 ghost on a team, or if there is a second ghost, it's going to be like Frostlass, which actually does pretty fine against Obstagoon. And then Lickitung has pretty much been pushed out of the meta. So a lot of Obstagoon's targets have kind of been pushed out. So for that reason, I think it's not quite as good as it used to be in the Open Great League meta. And also with Medicham, why I didn't bring Medicham is I've never been the biggest fan myself of Medicham. I feel like no matter what moveset you're running on it, you're kind of missing out on something, right? So if you're running the standard Ice Punch Psychic, then suddenly like the Registeel and the G-Fisk matchup are a little bit less comfortable, because you might have to commit a shield, especially if like you're slow on the swap, or if the other Pokemon is ahead energy. And then if you're running like Dynamic Punch, like I ran in the last tournament, then suddenly the mirror match becomes kind of sketchy. And also maybe like if you see an Azumarill, that becomes like a hard counter instead of a soft counter. So I've never been the biggest fan of Medicham because of its moveset, and then also because everyone runs Medicham. Everyone's prepared for Medicham. So you're not oftentimes going to run into teams that are weak to Medicham. I remember in Orlando, I didn't bring it that often, except for one match. I played an amazing battler named Bulk from Chicago, and his team was kind of soft to Medicham. He only had like neutral answers for it, so I was able to really utilize it well against him. But besides that one match against Bulk, I didn't bring it very often in my other games. So yes, that's why I went without Medicham and opted for Double Ground, which could kind of act as my steel counters, and plus Trevenant. So for G-Fisk, my counters would be like Swampert, Trevenant, Azu, and then for Registeel, I had 3 answers in Swampert, Trevenant, and G-Fisk. And those are the main 2 things, right, that you're typically going to want Medicham for. And then for Umbreon as well, which Medicham could also be used as a counter for, I have Azumarill, I have Alolan Shadow Ninetales, and G-Fisk, and G-Fisk as well usually wins that matchup, so even though it's more neutral. That said, that's the strategy behind the team. I've kept you here enough, and we are going to get into the battles, what you want to see. So, I'm going to be, I think, a little bit more, like, analytical instead of, like, kind of my sportsy shoutcasting of these. But we're going up against Snots here. And once again, this is Winners Group B, Round 3. So I played 2 matches at the tables before this. Both of my opponents were nice ladies. They were definitely, I would say, like more beginner-level players, because they had teams that were very off-meta. And here's the thing I wanted to address, and I talked about this on my stream recap, but I'm making a separate one here for you guys on YouTube, is even when I was playing my first round opponent, right, and I saw their team sheet, you exchange your team sheets, your teams of 6, and I saw that they had Dragonite and Executor and Blastoise. I still treated them as if they were any other opponent, as if they were very capable of beating me. And I took my time. I wrote down their team. I wrote down what line I think would be strong for game one. And I was able to win. So my first two opponents were definitely more beginner level players. Maybe I could have just locked in like an obvious line of three, but I took my time and I made sure to get it done, even when they were running like a waterfall wall rain and stuff like that. So my first two opponents definitely were probably newer to PvP, but we find ourselves here against Snots, who's a very good battler, plays for the Emerald faction, Muddy Water. I'm familiar with Snots. He played in the World Championships last year in the Seniors Division. And here we go, game one. And he's also running the Dunebug team that I played in Arlington in the Losers Finals. So I did recognize that, and I went with Noctowl Double Ground. And this was actually a line that Bird Power recommended me when I did scrims for this weekend. Noctowl Double Ground. I should move my face for y'all. Okay, so we're back in business. He swapped Frostlass. I swapped G-Fisk as my counter. I took the first move. I'm not going to throw here right away because I knew he's probably going to try his CMP time me. So I elect for the extra Mud Shot instead. And because I do that right, I'm able to shield, and I actually am able to get a complete Mud Shot down. So even something simple like that of not throwing right away and going for the extra Mud Shot ended up being quite nice there. Now I have a ton of energy for the Trevenant I'm expecting to come in. And gonna throw this Rock Slide as soon as possible. Rock Slide does like around 40% or so to a Trevenant. And I'm gonna build up a little bit here. Remember, I have a ton of energy, so I kind of want to try and throw off his counts if possible. I'm over farming till I almost already have double. Maybe he doesn't realize I'm only one away from my next one, and he does realize it. Nice counting by Snots. So he's going to throw this Seed Bomb here and take me out, and then check out what I do here, right? So quick pause, boom, Swampert, before he can even think, right? He knows I have a Noctowl. There's no reason for him to stay in. There's no reason for him to stay in and get Wing Attack down. So I go right in with the Swampert, and he swaps into the Reggie because he was instant swapping into the Reggie. And now instead of being like behind a few turns, my Swampert is ahead a turn, which is a little bit nicer. So I'm going to bait here with the Hydro Cannon. I grab a shield. I'm thinking, what if he like Zap Cannons me here? That'd be bad and I get debuffed. But I'm like, no, I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to shield the Focus Blast because my Swampert doesn't have the most amazing IVs. So I usually can just about get to 3 Hydro Cannons before a Focus Blast is going to be lethal. We get the shield here. I overfarm just slightly and I'm like, crap, I'm probably in Focus Blast range now. So I throw the Hydro Cannon to get some chip. And this should get it into range where Noctowl should be able to take it out. Focus Blast coming through. I'm hoping Swampy can hang on. He does not. And then nothing fancy here. His switch timer is up, so I was concerned about the catch. I figured, you know what, I'm just going to throw right away. Because even if he catches, I felt like my Noctowl should probably live a Zap Cannon from that range and get to another Sky Attack. So I just go straight for it. Trevenant's still back there, but for Trev, not much Trev's going to be able to do in that situation against Noctowl. So we get the game 1 win. That was my first game on stream, and I was pretty happy with that. I liked the play of coming in with Swampert against Trev. I thought that was pretty clever. And also, I could have been a little bit faster on the counter swap because I think I gave Frostlass like a 2 Powder Snow head start. So I could have been about a second quicker there to react to the Frostlass safe swap. So that's probably the only thing I could have done better that game. And other than that, things went pretty well. Using our right arrow key to speed this up a bit. And it looks like we're locked in for game number 2. These are best of 3s for pretty much the whole tournament. And here we go. So this is game number 2. And I have Alolan Ninetales against Swampert. And immediately I'm thinking, like, okay, if he has Swampert in the lead, there's probably a Noctowl in the back, right? If there's Swampert in the lead, there's probably Noctowl in the back. I need to somehow lure out the Noctowl with my Swampert. But I don't want to swap in my Swampert behind Energy, you know? So I elect to take this to see how much it does. And I thought about potentially, like, swapping here after the Weather Ball, but I'm like, no, because then Swampert's on its 4 cycle, and then I have to shield the Hydro Cannon. So what I decided to do is just play out the 0 shields here. I throw right away in case he doesn't, and he does throw right away. So at this point, I'm like, okay, it's not worth switch, or not worth, yeah, it's not worth switch to commit a shield, so I'm going to just have to let this go. And I'm going to Mud Shot down with my Swampert. I think I can Mud Shot down here. 3, 4, 5, just barely get the Mud Shot down. And now Noctowl comes in. I'm like, okay, we still have a chance. We still have a chance. I'm starting to, like, think about, okay, what's in back? Could be the Obstagoon, right, for extra Trev coverage. Could be, like, a G-Fisk, maybe. Or, no, he doesn't have G-Fisk. I'm being dumb. So, yeah, Obstagoon probably makes the most sense. And this head start of energy is great for Swampert because, so Noctowl beats Swampert, but if Swampert has a 2 Mudshot head start, Swampert should be able to flip this matchup, and we had a 5 Mudshot head start. So I'm keeping track of my energy. I throw on the CMP. This forces Snots to make a decision to use his last shield or to let it go. He likes to let it go. I think maybe he was hoping he lived because he shook his head a little bit there. And then this is a little bit scary. Knowing I have a Trev in the back, I was hoping this landed, because if this landed, I think I just win. But he shields, and now I need to get to this Hydro. I need to get to this Hydro, and Swampert hangs on. That's probably like 2 HP, maybe 3 at most. And this, I think I give a little bit of a smirk under the mask, because I know that should seal it. And now the Night Slash coming through from Obstagoon. And it's really fun watching these back after the fact, or at least the games you win. It's fun to watch back because like a lot of the comments in the Twitch chat at the start of this game, like, oh no, Rise's Trevenant has nowhere to go in the back. Snots wins this, but we were able to play a little bit cleverly, right? We lost the lead. We got the nice Mud Shot down, which lured out the Noctowl. And we got the win. It's tough for Snots, right? Because theoretically, he probably could have just, like, sacked the Obstagoon. And maybe Noctowl could have cleaned up. But it's a lot easier when you're the one watching, right? Versus the one actually playing. So that's a round 3 win. And in these tournaments, you get to see the bracket, like, in the morning. And you know, like, what might end up happening. So like I said, I treat every opponent kind of the same. I take my time. I write down good lines. But I knew it was very likely if I was able to get to round 4, I was going to play Wadage. And if you're unfamiliar with Wadage, I hold him in very high regard as a battler. I think he's clearly one of the best players in North America. I think you can make the argument he's one of the top 10, 25 players in the world. And some of his achievements include the longest ever streak as #1 on the GBL leaderboard. He was #1 on the GBL leaderboard for 13 days straight. He went 9-0 this past cycle in the Emerald tier of North American factions. He was the faction cycle MVP. Didn't lose a single match. Really good player. And a youngster as well. I think he's still in high school. And we have the Noctowl mirror match here. And immediately, this is good for me, right? And kind of similar to the match against Snots, these are some things I'm already thinking about. So, like, I have a Trevenant in the back. As long as Trevenant avoids Noctowl, right? It's got play against pretty much everything else. Also, if I wasn't to see the Noctowl, I probably would have swapped in my Swampert. And not only is Swampert, like, a good thing to lure out Noctowl, it also is really safe against his team, right? What's his best answer for Swampert over here? Probably Medicham or Noctowl, and those aren't the best answers. So, yeah, so I'm feeling good about this lead, and I'm very willing to just play out the 0 shield and save shield for the back. If Wadage is willing to commit a shield in this matchup, totally okay with that. He's going to throw a Sky Attack here. I'm going to let it go. Or no, I was on the Sky Attack, sorry. Now he's done the Sky Attack. And I'm going to let it go. And then he swaps into his Swampert to lure out my Trev. So this is smart on his part, right? Because if he doesn't swap and he just plays out that lead, like my backline just kind of destroys his backline. Mostly my Trevenant. So he lures it out. This way he can eventually just farm it down with his Noctowl. I go for the Seed Bomb here at 1. What would have been a CMP. He doesn't fall for it. He's going to commit a shield because he wants to get a shield off of me. So he's going to throw the Hydro Cannon here. And I'm like, this Swampert's a little bit uncomfortable to take out. So I'm going to commit a shield myself. I throw on CMP. And he's not going to shield this time. He's going to let Swampert go. Go for the farm down with his Noctowl. He comes in right away while I'm still switch locked. Very smart. I go for a Seed Bomb and then check out what happens here. So I'm thinking, okay, I can combo play here with the Sky Attack I have banked. Wadage predicts it and catches on his Noctowl. Gives a little look to the side, look to the camera maybe. Catches it on his Registeel. Sorry, I think I said Noctowl. So what a catch, what anticipation from him. Those are just like insane instincts as a battler. Great feel for the game, and I am able to outpace the Shadow Ball. This is actually really crucial because this is going to help put it into Hydro Cannon range. And I think Wadage had to potentially do like a slight undercharge here to maybe get a few more lock-ons. But he doesn't do that. He just kind of plays it safer. But the thing is, now I know that I can simply go straight for Hydro because, once again, if Registeel is at maximum energy, it can only bank 25 energy. So I'm going to be able to CMP tie here. And this is going to force him to shield to get off his Focus Blast. And then it's just going to be a race with my Swampert against the Noctowl. Because he's going to throw this. He's going to have to dip out to not allow me to farm up more energy. So let's see, how far away is he? I'm 4 away. He is 3 away from double Sky Attack. However, Swampert's going to win CMP. And of course, with the sneak, I am there. So I do know that he's at double, but I know it's unnecessary for me to catch. I can simply just win CMP on my Hydro Cannon, since, of course, Swampert a lot more attack than the bulky Noctowl. And I can take it out, and then no reason to catch or do any nonsense. Just simply tap, tap, tap. Go for my Hydro Cannon because I know my energy. And we take a Game 1 win. So that one felt pretty good. We ran 2 very similar lines, except I had 2 answers to his Reggie in back. His line was a little bit more balanced than mine, since mine was pretty soft to Noctowl. But we caught the Noctowl in the lead where we wanted to see it, and we're just able to neutralize it. So a nice Game 1 win against the very talented Wadage. And we are going to skip ahead forward to game number 2. A little sneak peek there. Game number 2, it's going to be the Trevenant into the Alola Ninetales. And I knew from his previous match on stream that this was a Charm Alola Ninetales. And here's a matchup, that I didn't really scrim. I didn't really practice, so I wasn't really sure the best way to approach this matchup. This probably was something I could have been more prepared for. Because you're going to see I don't play this ideally, in my opinion. So I'm debating whether I want to shield or literally just take shield advantage and come in with G-Fisk. I think the latter probably would have been better, but I do just had a shield. And then in addition to shielding, I throw the Seed Bomb. You're going to see what ends up happening here is not ideal. So I land the Seed Bomb. I was thinking I could take Switch, but it ends up being a Simul KO. And what I probably should have done there was simply commit to the Shadow Ball, because either I take it out and I win Switch, or I get a shield advantage. But now it's a Simul KO, and it becomes a bit of a guessing game, and I make probably the wrong choice here and come in with the Swampert. Yeah, so this is not good, because if you see what's in back, I've got the G-Fisk, and he has his own Swampert. So this is pretty bad for me. I am aware it's probably G-Fisk, or sorry, it's probably Swampert, just because it makes sense, right? If he had a Charm 9 lead, it's weak to what? It's weak to Swampert. I can't talk, I'm sorry. If he had a Charm 9 lead, it's weak to G-Fisk. What covers G-Fisk? Swampert covers G-Fisk. So I feel like Swampert does make sense for him in the back. I lose CMP, and here I'm like, okay, maybe my only win con is I should be a turn ahead here. So maybe my Earthquake will be enough to KO. So I come in with G-Fisk. Unfortunately for me, Wadage gets a 0-turn swap here, which shouldn't happen. But in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. Because unless he has like a horrible IV Shadow Swampert, it should live an Earthquake from G-Fisk and get off his Earthquake anyway. So a little bit annoying, right? Because like hypothetically, it could have mattered in a different situation if my opponent gets a 0-turn swap there. Like let's say the Swampert had already been chipped or something. My Earthquake would have KO'd, and then maybe I would have won. But in that situation, the 0-turn swap didn't matter. It didn't affect the outcome of the game. So that was fine. And it's 1-1. And once again, this is day 1. Winners Group B semi, so basically round 4. And in these tournaments, man, these Play Pokemon tournaments, if you guys do these, it's really important to try and stay in the winner's side of the bracket as long as you can. Because once you fall to the loser's side of the bracket, you have to win twice as many games. Because you're essentially, every other round, you're playing everyone else that's fallen down from the winner's bracket of that round. So it's really critical to stay in the winner's side as far as you can. It just makes your path easier for the most part, because you have to win less games. And you see me deliberating here. My first line seemed to have scared off Registeel a little bit, right? Because I ran Swampert, I ran Trevenant. Game 2, what did I run? I ran Trevenant. I also brought the Swampert. So I'm thinking like I might have scared off the Registeel. So I figured maybe it's time to bring the Azumarill. Because if you look at his team, Registeel is really the only hard check to Azumarill. Azumarill either beats or has play against everything else. So that's what I was thinking here. Like, how can I build a team here with my Azumarill? And it looks like we are locked in for a decisive Game 3. I go with Shadow Swampert. It's my safest lead, so I know I could stay in against pretty much everything. And Trev is avoiding Sableye, which is kind of nice. And you're going to see me in this matchup make a misplay. And this is, what's funny, is this is a matchup I have, like, practiced. I have done in scrims, and I know how they should play out. I know I can play out the 2-shield, and I can go straight Hydro Cannon, and I can eventually Mud Shot down and come out with energy if he takes a Hydro Cannon. So, like, I know how this matchup plays out, and you just can't quite replicate, I guess, like, the nerves of being on stage and how that might affect your counts or your decisions. So he's going to take this Hydro knowing that he survives, and he's going to get my second shield, most likely, or take Switch. And I decide, like, I know this matchup. I know I can shield this and Mud Shot down. I've played this before. I know I can shield this and Mud Shot down. And then I just, like, get scared. And I'm like, great, wait. What if I missed one? And you see the reaction from Wadage. He's like, oh, thank you. He's like, wait, why'd you throw that? Like, he knows I could have farmed down. And I realized it too. I'm like, crap. I just kind of panicked there. Because in the moment, right? In the moment, let's say I was in danger of him getting another foul play. Like, if I commit the shield here, right? If I commit my second shield and he gets off a third foul play and then I'm down a shield and I lose Switch, I lose. I simply lose. Like, if he gets to a foul play here, right, I lose. But that next Mud Shot would have KO'd, and I would have been in a much more favorable position. So, definitely a misplay there on my part. And I'll tell you why I think that's a bad thing and a good thing after this game. I get to the Hydro here. It's going to do some nice chip damage against the Noctowl. I come in with a Azumarill. And The Hydro Cannon has put Noctowl into Ice Beam range. We have no shields. He still has one shield. I'm very aware that it could be the Charm 9 and back, and I want to avoid the potential catch of the Ice Beam. So I'm being very cognizant of that. He's going for another Sky attack here. I'm really going to try and avoid the catch. I'm going to make sure I see the second wing attack before I click. I see the second wing attack. I click. And he's going to commit his last shield. I'm like, okay, this is good. I would have rather had him commit a shield here because I feel like now it's pretty much in Seed Bomb range-ish on my Trev. He goes for a move here. I'm hoping maybe I can live, but if I don't, it's not the end of the world. Because I think Noctowl is dry here, and it's pretty much in Seed Bomb range. He swaps, and he was expecting something else, I think. I think he was expecting maybe my own Ninetales, like double Fairy. I think that's maybe what he's... Or maybe my own Noctowl, I think is what he was expecting. And I land the Shadow Ball. I overfarm to 9. And I should be able to outpace here. And now it's just a matter of whether Seed Bomb is going to be enough to take it out. Wadage knows. He thinks it's going to be enough. Seed Bomb comes through. And it's barely enough to take out the Noctowl. And I shake my head. My mom pointed that out to me. That sometimes I like shake my head after I win. And she thinks I lost because I'm like shaking my head. And I guess that's just like a reaction I have. Where I'm like, oh man, like that was crazy. That was a close game. So we take down Wadage, man. And I think based off like just resume and experience, you could argue Wadage along with myself, if I'm being confident, like one of the top favorites in this tournament, top battlers in this tournament. And we're gonna skip ahead here to the winners finals. Let's see. Reggie Rod. I think it might have happened before this. There I am. And I'm playing against a trainer I wasn't familiar with, but was able to meet this weekend, and that's SoTD. And he is running the Jakobrovich, Magic Mason, Brown Baller line. Very strong team. I've practiced against this team. It's pretty much unbreakable. There is not like a great safe swap I have. So it was really just about trying to call his lines as best as I could. And also, although the Ninetales, I'd say is maybe my strongest Pokemon against this team. Because his only hard checks are G-Fisk and Lantern. And even against those, Ninetales has play. If you landed a Gleam on Lantern, you can flip that matchup. And if you get like a head start, you can flip the G-Fisk matchup. So here we are. We get a great lead here. He swaps Trev. I kind of just instinctually swap my Trev. Sorry. So he swaps Lantern. I just kind of like, my brain just auto-swapped the Trev for me. And I know, okay, so this is his strategy, right? And you can almost tell by his demeanor, right? Like this was the strategy behind his team. Like swap the Lantern, lure out the Trev, Noctowl farms down, sets up with whatever's in back. So I'm thinking at this point, it's probably Medicham in back. Probably Medicham. And I think you'll see me like look over to my notes at some point, like what could it be in back, and just to like confirm it's probably Medicham. So I allow him to hit me, right? I allow him to hit me with another move to put myself lower for the Noctowl. You see him nodding, like he's feeling good. Like this is his strategy going to plan. I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball here. You can only get to one move in this matchup, of course. Shadow Ball is going to do more raw damage despite being double resisted. So I throw the Shadow Ball. I am going to come in here with Alolan Ninetales right away. Really debating whether I wanted to shield this or not. I decided, no, I'm going to let it go. And then he catches here on Medicham, which actually isn't that bad for me. I watched Home Slice Henry back, and this isn't that bad for me, this catch, because it actually helps a little bit because it puts the Medicham into Hydro Cannon range, just about. So I didn't mind that catch. I was like, that's fine. And also, right, once the lantern had gone away, nothing else resisted Weather Ball. So I was like, if he catches, it's not the end of the world. He allows me to CMP here, so he might have been like one off with his counts or something. Because he looked a little bit surprised that I was there already. So he might have been like one off, but not a huge deal. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I've gotten both of his shields. I either am going to double shield Swampert, I think, or double shield A9. I decided to double shield Swampert because I know I'm going to get to another Hydro here. His Noctowl only has one wing attack, I think. He throws the Ice Punch. He does another counter. He swaps. I'm going to throw the Hydro here, and my switch timer should be up. I kind of had to throw the Hydro to get my switch clock up. I come in. Can I farm down? And I can. And he realizes it. And then we're just going to overfarm a little bit before the Ice Punch. Get off our Weather Ball here. And this should put Metacham very low. Puts it into 1 Powder Snow range. And we take game 1. So right after game 1, I ran A9, I ran Trev, I ran Swamp. I figure it's probably unlikely he's gonna lead. What am I talking about? I forgot what my thought there was. I don't know what I was thinking at this point. Some of the battles kind of blend together, but I'm just trying to orchestrate another line where even if I lose lead, I can perhaps come away with a win. So a lot of my teams might like try and catch a lead. The commentators said like Rise is really known for reading people's teams. I didn't necessarily know that. I didn't know I was known for that, but I appreciate it. I guess maybe I do have a knack for it because in this tournament you are going to see, and the haters in the comments, they're going to have a thrill of a time because they're going to say Rise got lucky with the algorithm because I do catch a lot of positive leads in this tournament. But what I believe I end up running in this game is G-Fisk double fairy. No, I run Trev double fairy. Because if I catch the lantern in the lead, amazing. If I don't, I can lure out the lantern with my A9. And then that will set up my Azumarill to potentially sweep in the back. So that was kind of the thought process behind my team that I lock in for this game. And here we go. G-Fisk into Trev. I'm running Trev. He swaps Noctowl. I swap Alolan Ninetales. Very good matchup for me. If this was a matchup starting like even energy, Noctowl doesn't reach a second Sky Attack if they take this. However, because it started like 1 ahead, he might get to a second Sky Attack here. So I'm going to be willing to take this, and I'm not going to allow him to get a shield advantage, right? So I'm going to throw at 6 if need be, if I can't farm down. So I do 6 Powder Snows. It doesn't KO, so I throw my Weather Ball. And look at this. The chat, the commentators freaked out a little bit here because they thought it might KO through the shield. 1 HP through the shield. No. It must have been a 2 HP Noctowl. It certainly looked like it could have been 1 HP. I was kind of hoping for it in the moment. But I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I'm going to shield to make sure I retain switch advantage. And Sotadi is nodding like he thinks he's in a good spot because he thinks he lured out the Umbreon counter. And maybe he thinks it's like a Swampert in the back. I'm not sure. He probably thinks it's a Swampert in the back or something. So I come in Trev. He goes Umbreon. I swap Azu. And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, double fairy. What is this witchcraft? This magic. The fairy Pokemon are on the field. So yeah, so we're in a good spot here. But once again, I'm keeping my focus. I'm keeping my composure. Because I know this game isn't quite over. He still has energy on the G-Fisk. He has his switch timer is going to be up eventually. He could go for like a catch. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm keeping my cool. and not making any mistakes. I think I did kind of lose track of the Umbreon's energy at this point. Like, that's something I still need to work on in these tournaments. I do lose track of energy sometimes. I go for the play rough here. He goes for the extra. Play rough coming through. Umbreon should barely hang on to this. But he does shield. Maybe it would have KO'd, actually. I'm not sure. And at this point, I know, okay, like, his switch timer is going to be up. He's probably going to try and catch or combo play. So you're going to see me wait a turn. And I wait a turn. I don't tap the screen, and I call it. And he nods his head in recognition. Like, nicely played. And we're just going to try and close out this game. He's got lots of energy, of course. But I know I can live this, right? And my Azu has a move banked, so I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. And I could have been like a little bit more clean here with, I guess, my farm, since I could have done like 2 more. But I'm just thinking I'm just going to get rid of this G-Fisk. I've got a move banked on Azu. Azu wins CMP over Umbreon, so I should be fine. Even if I get snarled down here. I do get off the Seed Bomb. Umbreon might barely hang on here. Bulky little beast that Umbreon is. But I have the play rough. And that, of course, is going to knock out the Umbreon from this range. And we take the win against Sotiri, who, really nice dude. Said hey to me at the beginning of the tournament. And really talented battler, man. I wasn't familiar with him, so I looked him up on Sylph before I had to play him. And I saw he got like a crazy win rate in Sylph factions. He also went like 6-1 in an open Great League tournament. So really, really talented player that's a little bit under the radar. And that's why you got to take everybody seriously, man. I'm not going to be someone that's like, oh, Sotiri, I've never heard that name before. This is going to be easy. Quite the opposite. A lot of respect for every opponent. And that win set me up to move on to day 2 in the winners bracket. So that was the Group B finals. And we go there. Yeah. Shout out to CM Nad. CM Nad in the in the Twitch chat said Rise getting streamer algorithm luck. CM Nad. I'm also calling them out because they had the legendary comment that if Rise goes to 30 regionals, of course he's going to win 1. I mean, they're not wrong, right? They're only off by a factor of 10. It took me 3 regionals. But 33, what's the difference? And not only did they say that, but then they came in my Twitch stream and then wished me congratulations. So, I don't know. Hater until we win. And then they're a fan, I guess. Anyway. Maybe I'm reading too much into things. And this set us up for day 2. And you know what's funny is day 2 we played Beach 7. Amazing battler. Former Sylph legend from the Chicago area. Played him multiple times in the past. In like Sylph and other formats. And know how good he is. And I'm actually playing the same exact team that I played in the winners final. So you could be saying, like, Rise, you just went 2-0 against the same team. You got to be feeling pretty confident. Well, yeah, but I also like showed my strats on stream. I showed my lines, so I can't run the same 2 lines, in my opinion, that I ran in my previous match against this team. So I do decide to flip the lines and go with some different strategies here. So this is the winners semis. This is day 2. We're in the top 8 here, and I catch the lead that I thought I was going to get is the Lantern. And I'm feeling pretty good here because remember, the previous day I led Alola Ninetales, I believe, in that first game. And now I catch the Lantern here, day 2. Umbreon. He made a beautiful catch, catching my Earthquake on his Umbreon. I was concerned about that. I felt like it's very easy to catch in that G-Fisk versus Lantern matchup. So I was concerned about this, but I decided to stay in for a while and make sure I have energy on my G-Fisk, since G-Fisk is going to need energy to take out that Lantern. And of course, Azu isn't very threatened in this Umbreon matchup. It's a pretty comfortable matchup for Azu. So I'm perfectly fine taking a few extra hits. I know I'm going to be matched up against the Lantern anyway with my Azu, right? So if If I take extra damage here, that's fine. Lantern's going to take me out anyway. I go for the play rough. I should be able to bubble down after this. Not going to bother with an undercharge. Last resort coming through. And you're going to see me actually do a bubble here instead of throw my play rough. Because I'd almost rather have Lantern expend this Thunderbolt than, like, take a play rough and farm down, you know? So I was fine with this. Even though I didn't get off my play rough, I was pretty cool with that. And once again, he knows I have energy. I know he's probably going to catch here. The commentators actually thought when this happens that I, like, reacted. And that I, like, threw the Rock Slide at the Trevenant to chip. But no, he caught this, and I baited. So I baited the Lantern, and he caught my Rock Slide. He looked up thinking maybe he caught the Earthquake. And then I swap here, and all shields are still in play. I'm not gonna waste this and potentially lose CMP. I'm going to commit to the Powder Snow down. If he had done a 6th Shadow Claw, maybe then I would have thrown to avoid him getting off a Shadow Ball. But now he went for the C-Bomb. I can actually just fully farm down here. This is a tough position for Beach because he knows I have energy on both Pokemon. So I actually go for the bait. And I was thinking, like, if he calls this, I can literally just go, just spam my way to victory. Like, if he calls it, just go straight Weather Ball, straight Rock Slide. And I think I win anyway. But I do get the bait, which is really nice. I go for the Gleam. He knows he has to save a shield for an Earthquake. So it makes sense for him to no shield there. And now he's just so low, I can probably just Mud Shot down and not commit any, throw any charge moves. So Surf's coming through. I gotta shield something, right? He's got lots of energy. I shield the first. He's gonna throw another one here. And I'm like, you know, I could shield. I could no shield. Doesn't really matter because I do live a Surf from this range. So I just decided to no shield. And we take the Surf. The Mud Shot KOs. We win the game. That's a nice game 1 win against Beach. I'm gonna skip forward through a little bit. We got the Hoenn Pokemon chilling at the center of the table. Primal, Kyogre, Groudon, and Torchic. Hope you guys had a good Hoenn tour, by the way. Good Hoenn tour event. I didn't get to play much, unfortunately, until after the tournament. But that's alright. And we go into game number 2. And once again, Beach also has a 5 out of 6 shiny team. Every Pokemon on his team is shiny. Instead of, with the exception of Trev. So, style points for him. I catch an amazing lead. He's forced to swap the Lantern. And I counter with my G-Fisk. And the reason for this is I figure, like, if I can win this matchup here with G-Fisk, it's less comfortable for him, right? Because, like, let's say I combo here, or I counter here with Trev, as most people would, and the commentators actually thought I might have made a misclick here. No, this wasn't a misclick. This was a conscious decision to go G-Fisk. So I come in Trev, he can potentially get a farm down, and then the remainder of the game becomes a little bit sketchy, right? Because Noctowl probably lands a Sky Attack on Ninetales, and then, like, Trevenant is going to be dangerous against my G-Fisk, so... Well, I guess theoretically, I could have just come in with G-Fisk against Noctowl, so that's also very true. But I do land a Rock Slide for some nice chip. Noctowl comes out with a Sky Attack loaded. Obviously, I'm going to come in here with Ninetales. I'm just kind of looking at what could be in the back. I wasn't quite sure what was in the back at this point. Sky Attack coming through. I'm going to elect to let it go. And I'm going to overfarm here. You're going to see. And I end up throwing on CMP, forcing Beach to make the decision. Does he commit a shield or does he let Noctowl go down? He decides to let Noctowl go down. He's going to put it all on his 2-shield Trevenant. Maybe hoping it was like a Swampert. I mean, Swampert does kind of make sense. Swampert does kind of make sense because I was weak to like Steel in the lead. But it's my own Trevenant, and I'm feeling pretty good here. Knowing I should have this one. I shield right away, thinking it's probably going to be a Seed Bomb bait. Beach wisely goes for the Shadow Ball. It's probably his only win condition at this point, landing the Shadow Ball. And I could just farm all the way down, to be honest, but I decided to just Go for the Seed Bomb since I have double Seed Bomb, and he doesn't have a move yet to secure the victory. Seed Bomb knocks out the opposing tree, and we get the win. So we're moving on to the winners finals of day 2, and that puts us in the top 3. And from this point on, it is going to be a best of 5. And at this point, I had a lot of time to just kind of watch everybody else play. I ended up doing some scrims with one of my teammates, Enhoff, and I knew I had a matchup against Mr. Onion Frank, who is a GBL legend. not just legend rank, but like an actual legend, because he's, like I said on my Twitch stream, he's probably hit number 1 on the GBL leaderboards more times than I ever will in my entire life. But I'd say maybe when it comes to like the Show 6 format, I have more experience. So I do like my matchup, as you're going to see, against Onion Frank, because he doesn't have a Noctowl. And I feel like that makes my Trev really solid against his team. So here we are. Alpha Phoebe and Mark Sun did a great job, I thought, on the commentary. And let's get into it. So there's Frank's team. Pretty standard. I did know that he was running Charm, Alola Ninetales. And he's got the Altaria rather than a Trevenant or a as like my Swampert counter. And doesn't have a Noctowl as well. So my Trevenant is quite safe. Swampert looks pretty good if it avoids the Altaria. Azu looks pretty solid if it avoids Lantern. A lot of people in the comments thought I was going to bring a whole lot of Azu. But maybe one reason I was able to be successful this weekend was my lines weren't as predictable, because a lot of people, like, in the comments seemed to think I'd be like bringing different stuff than I ended up bringing. And yeah, like I've already mentioned a few times, Trev's really good. If it avoids like Sableye, Altaria, beats pretty much everything else. And here we go. So game 1, I go with a Trev lead, and Mr. Onion Frank goes ABA weak to Trevenant. So I hate to say it, because it's not over till it's over, but this game is over. This game is over, and Twitch chat says that too often. Oftentimes they say, as soon as they see like a bad lead, they're like, oh, this is over, GG's. And normally they're wrong. Normally they're being pessimistic. But in this case, this game is kind of over. Because he's double weak to Trev. He came in with his only Trev counter. And there's just not much he can do at this point. I go for my Sky Attack before he can reach a return to force a potential shield or to knock him out. He's going to go for the return here. And once again, I don't know that it's a Lantern in the back. I'm not expecting it to be a Lantern in the back. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to shield, make sure I retain switch advantage, keep my Trev lined up with the Medicham. So I'm thinking it could be like Altaria in the back or something. And then there's a Lantern. So I'm like, oh, wait a sec. He went ABA weak. So I can just Shadow Ball here. And I'm just going to dip into Trev and not allow this Lantern to like get unnecessary farm on my Noctowl. And at this point, I'm just over farming. I figured like he might try and catch a Seed Bomb or something. So I'm just like over farming, making sure I have a lot of energy. So even if he catches a Seed Bomb, like I'm still totally fine. I go up to a lot of energy. I wait a turn. And I throw the Seed Bomb here, which will knock out the Lantern. Frank like knows what's up. He knows he ran a risky line. He got caught with the worst possible lead. So I over farm here. I go for the Shadow Ball, and he's just going to let it go through and kind of concede, knowing the game's essentially over at this point. So a pretty decisive Game 1 win, as Frank ran a really risky line, ABA weak to Trev, and ended up paying for it. So at this point, I'm thinking, like, okay, he just got destroyed by a Trev lead. He's probably not going to run ABA weak to Trev again. I think I was thinking, like, okay, maybe he leads Sableye this time, or maybe he, like, maybe he leads Sableye, or maybe he just runs, like, a different line altogether. So I decided to go with, like, one of my safer leads in game 2, which was the Shadow Alola Ninetales. And here you see us getting ready. And then here's kind of a higher level thought process as to why I end up swapping G-Fisk here. So in my head, okay, he just went ABA weak to Trev, right? He's probably not going to do that again. So worst case, Alola Ninetales sees the Lantern in the lead, right? Worst case, it sees the Lantern in the lead. I can swap my G-Fisk because he's not going to have Medi in the back if he has a Lantern lead, because then he would just auto-lose to Trev lead again. So I'm going to swap my G-Fisk because there's no way he has Median back. And he has Median back. Dude, Savage Onion Frank runs essentially the same line as game 1 after he just got hard team comped game 1. He just ran it back. Very savage. You know what's funny is after game 1 against Beach actually said in our headsets, like, you know, I think I'm just going to run it back. Like, do I run it back, Rise? I think I'm just going to run it back. And I'm like, bro, like, why are you playing these mind games with me? He did not end up running it back. Frank did not say much, but he did run it back. And it's working out for him here because he's got all the energy in the world. And I'm thinking, like, dang. Like, if I preserve this Ninetales, what good does that do me? Then I just have a Lantern waiting for me. He gets the defense fell. Not ideal for me. Goes for the Psychic. He undercharges. Still KOs. I go to Trev. He swaps Sableye. I am a turn ahead, which is kind of nice. I decided just to go straight for the Shadow Ball. He's already down a shield, so I figured maybe he lets it go through, expecting the bait or something. But he shields, and that should just cement this game for him. So if I had baited the Seed Bomb, who knows, maybe I had a chance, because I'd be like 2 Shadow Claws healthier, and maybe somehow I can I could have had enough health to like take out the back Pokemon. It still would have been a very uphill climb. I think even if I had baited Sableye, honestly, Frank probably could have just committed to Fast Moves, and Fast Moves would have eventually taken out my Trev. Yeah. So, bit RPS first couple games. Bit RPS, and I'm like, okay, he's getting kind of comfortable with that line of 3. So maybe I ought to mix it up a bit. And he was double weak to Azu both games as well, right? I consider Medicham like weak to Azu, Sableye as well, even though they do have play against Azu. So I think I decide to introduce the Azumarill in game 3, and I also am going to switch up my lead. Because we haven't used the Shadow Swampert yet, so I'm like, hopefully I can catch the Lantern. And this is kind of where I want to see it, right? Kind of where I want to see it. Like, Trev would be even better, but also, make a note that Frank ran ABA weak to Trev for the 3rd consecutive game. 3rd consecutive game, bro. ABA weak to Trev. That's all right. So we're going to take the Surf here. I'm over-farming quite a bit, and I am going to go for the bait here. Because if I go straight Earthquake and they keep getting shielded, this isn't that great. Hydro Cannon also chunks anyway, so if he calls it, it's like not the end of the world. I am going to shield this one since I've got quite a bit of energy. I'm going to over-farm here. I wait a turn. I get off the EQ. Frank has to make a decision. He's going to shield. And then check out what I do here. This ends up, in my opinion, being a really nice play by me. I throw the Hydro on CMP. And Frank's looking to the side. He's like, crap, did I miscount? Is this an Earthquake? But I throw the Hydro on CMP, and I let it go. And this is going to set up my Trev for a very comfortable farm down. If the Lantern was still at like half health, I can't really farm it down. It would have put in too much damage. But this is going to allow me to farm down the Lantern. And once again, nothing on his team really hard walls Trev. So he comes in with Sableye. Unfortunately, he lags a turn, so he does miss a Shadow Claw there. But I get off my Shadow Ball. And I'm going to swap Azu. And at this point, I'm thinking it's probably Medicham in the back. And even if it's not Medicham, Azu beats pretty much everything on his team other than Lantern. So once Lantern's out of the picture, Azu kind of goes to work. I'm just willing to take the return, to be honest. Because I'm predicting Medi. I know I can chip it here with Play Rough. He's going to have to throw a Psychic to take me out. And at that point, I'm thinking Trev can probably just farm down and throw a move at Sableye. So this is one part of PvP. I think the high-level players kind of have an understanding, even a minute before, right? They kind of can already plan out the end game, how to play this out. So, I mean, it might be pretty obvious, pretty simple, but sometimes it's not as obvious. I get the farm. He could have Ice Punched, but he knows it's over. I thought the Shadow Ball just for more damage, and I think it was Find Panic in the chat. I was like, what's the BM of this? Would BM be farmed down with fast moves? Would BM be Seed Bomb, or would BM be Shadow Ball? So it's kind of funny. I don't know what the BM is in that situation. I just threw the move that did more damage just to confirm the KO. Obviously, Seed Bomb would KO. But I just threw my larger move. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 win away from the Grand Finals and securing an invite to the World Championship in Japan not next season, this season, in August. The dates were actually just announced, August 11th through the 13th. Pretty dang cool, man. Japan, never been there. And you see me taking my time, thinking. Frank's thinking, and here we go. Game number 4. And remember what I ran last game. I ran a Swampert lead with a Trevenant in the back. Very soft to Altaria. I figured Altaria was probably coming this game. Didn't necessarily know in the lead or in the back. But I ran Noctowl, Swampert, Trev. And the thought process is, okay, if I catch Altaria in the lead, fine. I can just play out the Zero Shield. And then Swampert super safe. Or if I don't catch Altaria, I can swap my Trev and hopefully lure out the Altaria. Worst case would be maybe I see a Lantern lead. I swap Trev, he swaps Sableye, and then it's Swampert versus Altaria in the back. So theoretically, if his lead and his Backmon were reversed, I lose this game. But, I mean, you could say that about pretty much any game in Pokemon Go, right? Oh, if I just changed the order of my team, I would have won. So yeah, so we're in the lead here. You see me going for Shadow Ball over Sky Attack. Does a little bit more raw damage. And I'm going to probably play out the Zero Shield here. So I'm probably only going to get to 2 moves anyway. So I might as well throw my 2 harder hitting moves. So yeah, so that's my thought process here. Because if I win Switch, I should be good, right? Because Trev just beats Lantern and Swampert should beat Sableye, even though that's more of a neutral matchup. I go for another Shadow Ball here. Land the Shadow Ball. I get 1 more Wing Attack of damage. And at this point, I'm like, I don't think it's worth the shield. I don't think it's worth going down a shield. So I let it go, and I come in with Swampert. I'm like, I'm going to Mudshot this thing down. Because he threw right away. So I would need 7 Mudshots or less to KO. And 6 Mudshots take out the Altaria. And chat loved this play. Chat loved the Mudshot down the Altaria. I do go for the EQ here. I have baited him in the past, so I thought maybe there's a chance he lets it go. He shields. Very nice shield from Frank. I'm going to respect the surf damage here and pull up a shield of my own. Over farming here. Over farming. I go for the catch attempt. Perhaps too obvious to catch as soon as he got it. So he doesn't fall for it. He swaps Sableye, but once again, Trev ahead energy on Sableye. Not the most comfortable for Sableye. I go for the Shadow Ball because I feel like he has to save the shield for the Swampert. He knows Swampert has an Earthquake. I felt like he had to save the shield, and now I'm debating, do I put it all on Swampert and Mudshot down, or do I shield here with Trev? And I decided to shield here with Trev because I was thinking, okay, at least this will force Lantern to preserve energy. So now the only way I lose this is if Lantern takes me out and comes out with enough energy where he can outpace. And I throw the Seed Bomb. And, you know, I think Frank could have overfarmed here a tad bit more. Obviously, then, like, fast moves start to become scary. But I'm 1 off Double Hydro. It looks like I'm at Double Hydro. I'm actually 1 off. He has to shield. And then it comes down to a CMP tie. And you see me shaking my head. Because apparently that's my new celebration. It's just shaking my head. And we get the win. Frank is a great sport. The handshake and a hug. And it was just a big sense of relief there, man. Big sense of relief because I knew I'd be moving on to the grand finals. And I secured an invite to Japan this August. So big sense of relief there. And I was also very confident in how I had been playing. I thought I'd been playing very well this tournament. So I felt like it was going to be really tough for either Frank or Dejin to beat me twice in a row. Because as the winners finalist of the grand finals, whoever plays me is going to have to beat me in 2 consecutive best of 5s to become champion. And with that said, Frank... Oh, man. Oh, that must have been a commercial from a previous one. Oh, man, that looked like a good commercial. So, spoiler alert, but Dejin is able to beat Frank here. Frank was able to win that game. Dejin, if you watch this back, you'll see he had, like, no reaction after winning. Because he said afterwards to me, he didn't even realize it was his 3rd win. He thought he still had to win 1 more after he won. So he had like no reaction after winning. And yeah. And then we're going to see an interview with myself and Dejin before the grand finals. So I will play that for y'all. Let's see if I can... Pause the music for a second. Maybe I'll drag it over here. And we shall go back here.
Occasion and Dejin, first of all, congratulations to both of you.
It's a little loud.
For already securing your trip to Japan. I mean, it's come down to the grand finals. How are you guys feeling?
Feeling awesome. Feeling very fortunate. These tournaments are so stacked. It truly is like anybody's game. Can go one of many ways. So just feeling happy, feeling fortunate to be here.
Yeah, for me, like, I'm surprised, right? Like, I wasn't expecting this to happen when I signed up for Knoxville. I was just coming here for a good time, and here we are. So excited.
So prior to this regional, I know, Rise, you know, we've talked about you travel quite a bit. You know, you played in the previous events. Dejin, I think you have as well. So how many regionals have you guys been to for each of you in this circuit?
This is my 3rd. So I competed in Arlington first, and I was just a little bit short. I ended up finishing 3rd place, and that was tough. And then I went to Orlando. I made top 8 again, and fell short. So so this is my 3rd one of the season, and I'm happy to get that Japan spot.
For sure. Dejin, how about you?
This is my 1st one of the season. I've been focused more on staffing a little bit, but it's my 3rd one overall. I did 2, one in Indy, one at NAIC last season. So just getting that rust off, but it looks like it's worked out well.
Yeah, it's great to hear. I mean, it looks like you did get the rust off, right? You kind of, I think we were watching you from backstage and of course casting your battles.
Pretty crazy, right? Dejin's first try of the season. It's a world's invite. Very impressive.
Way back to the grand finals. Same with you, Rise. You've looked dominant all day long. Both of you guys look incredibly dominant. I mean, how do you guys prepare for a tournament like this? I mean, do you guys have is there a team that you work with, or is there a support structure that you have at home?
I'd like to scrim. I like to treat my scrims almost as if they're like actual matches, like best of 3s, because I feel like if you just kind of scrim over and over and over, at a certain point, maybe you're not like thinking too much about what you're running. You're just kind of throwing things out there. So yeah, I've got a great team that kicks my butt pretty often in scrims with Go Stadium. And yeah, I like to scrim, but I wouldn't say I like over prepare in terms of like hours and hours.
My approach is more theory crafting, so I talked to a couple of people who had more experience with some of the Pokemon like Shadow Sableye and Shadow Venusaur, got their advice on it to build the team, but I don't scrim too much. I don't find a lot of value out
cute
of it.
ducklet
I did
in the
some
background.
last night, but 9 battles and that was about it.
That's fair. I mean, sometimes coming in and getting a feel for your team might just be the kind of the best solution, right? So, well, I think besides that, you know, just a quick thing. We're not going to talk too much about your matchup together, of course. I know you want to individually prepare, but you know, what has been your favorite moment in the tournament so far?
Yeah, it's been a nice ride. Day one, I was a little bit proud of a play I had against Snots, I think, where I came in with my Swampert against a Trevenant, expecting him to swap out. So I watched back the stream from day one, and I don't think anyone noticed.
Oh,
But so no one noticed it, but that was individually my favorite part. And then I don't know, just seeing everybody compete and lots of like fun, spicy teams.
for sure. Dijon,
Yeah,
how about you?
I mean, if we're talking about our individual moment, it'd probably be that battle with Beach a little bit ago where we tied. That was a wild one, but yeah, honestly,
you guys
for
should
me,
check
it's
out
been
that
about
battle.
seeing some
That was
friends that
insane.
I've never met in person before. So that's the main reason I'm here. It's been a great time meeting everyone again, and this is just another aspect of it that I'm enjoying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have the same feeling too. I've had opportunity to travel around the United States as well, just to, and North America, just to meet some trainers that I have also never met in real life. I think it's a great feeling. I think I'm meeting Dijon for the first time today.
Yep.
Rise, I think you're no stranger to to events that I've casted before. But before we head off to the grand finals, is there anything else that you would like to say? Any shout outs that you want to give to friends or family at home?
There's too many people to list off.
Absolutely.
So if you've helped me scrim, if you've rooted for me, if you've commented on a YouTube video, like
That's you guys.
thank you. I appreciate
Commenters.
you, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the easy way out what he said.
Absolutely. I love that answer. Well, I mean, best of luck to both of you. I think everybody at home, I think we're just rooting for both of you just to have a great series of battles. I know that I will be backstage, and I'm very eager to look forward to how you guys deal with each other's, strategies, right? You guys shown so far in this tournament, you are the top, the top 2 players. We're very excited to see this grand finals come up very shortly. So thank you so much.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you,
so much, Mark.
Trainers, this is it. We are north of the Smoky Mountains, and we have reached the summit of this weekend. We are here.
I liked that. I liked that intro from DeFi. I thought that was pretty fire. I saw some streamer like make fun, say it was corny. I thought that was fire. Shout out to DeFi. I think she's amazing, as are all the casters. And yeah, let's get into it. Grand finals. We'll get our soundtrack going as the background music. And let's mute this. And I'll take you through my thoughts again, ladies and gents. So, just preparing. Writing some stuff down. Rise, what are you writing down on your notebook? I literally just write down my team of 6. I write down their team of 6. And I just make any notes, like my Azu is good. My Trev is only afraid of this. And then I might write down like what line I plan on running, and then just visualizing like, okay, like how would it stack up against each potential lead. So that's kind of what I write down. Inadequence's stream reaction had some funny. Like he was like, "What's Rise writing down?" Like note 1 RPS, and then someone was like, "Play rough is on the left." We'll get into that, and then also on the stream they gave us these like graphics of past achievements, which was kind of cool. So at the start of day 2, we get there. The top 8 gets there at like 8 a.m. and they had a nice lady come around and ask us like if we had any prior achievements we wanted on our graphic, and I joked around and I was like, could you just say like GBL streamer, like GBL YouTuber? And she was like, no, it has to be play Pokemon related. And I was like, okay. So I gave her these 3, and then I also asked about Sylph because I was able to be the Sylph World Championship runner-up last year. And I was asking if I could put that on there, and she was like, no, we can't say Sylphs. You'd have to say like grassroots tournament. And then I just started cracking up on my Twitch recap stream when I told that story, because Sylph World Championship runner-up, like 2022 Sylph World Championship runner-up sounds a lot cooler than like 2022 grassroots tournament runner-up. Could you imagine 2022 grassroots tournament? Because like, what could that could be the Silph World Championship that I grinded all season for, and I beat like 9 of the best players in the world to get there, or it could be like at my local like game shop. I don't know, with like some local friends. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, the achievements graphic was pretty cool. We've got Dejan. He's all smiles. I think he's happy to be there, like he said, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I have a pretty solid team comp against him because my Azu looks quite strong, right? My Azu's only afraid of Venusaur. It beats or ties pretty much everything else. And Trevenant also looks quite strong, as you'll see me talk about later, because beats Azu, beats Medi, beats G-Fisk, beats Venusaur, I think. And then even in its bad matchups against Sableye and Alolan Ninetales, I'm still hitting them for neutral damage. So, like, my moves are still threatening them, even though they're hitting me for super effective. So, Trev I thought was really good. Azu was really good. And then my other picks, like A9, G-Fisk, Noctowl, definitely have play as well. So, looks like we're getting into it. Grand Finals, best of 5. I have to win... one best of 5 to become the grand champion. Dejan would have to beat me in 2 best of 5s to reset the bracket and then win another. So we catch a positive lead here, game 1. Azu into Powder Snow A9. We resist the Powder Snows, of course. He throws on Alignment, which lets me sneak in a bubble. I was really debating whether I wanted to shield this or not. Like, I thought shields maybe were better saved in the back for my Glacier Pokemon. I figured he's probably not going to bait, so I did shield, and now you see a little, like, head movement from me, because I'm like, oh, this is actually a little sketchy, because I was very slow on this swap. Very slow on this swap, so, as we got a 2-bubble head start, and now I'm worried that, like, maybe my second Seed Bomb isn't going to KO, so I throw here with proper timing. I know he's 2 bubbles away from Ice Beam, so I'm going to try and CMP him. I'm just kind of gauging my judgment to see if I think Seed Bomb will be enough. I thought it should be enough, but it's awfully close, man. It's awfully close. I did consider, like, going for Shadow Ball here to make sure, but I thought Seed Bomb should be enough, and luckily it was. If Azu lives that, I'm in a pretty bad spot. And then Dejan with an aggressive play here, gonna Vine Whip down with the Venusaur, and you know, I don't know if this was the right play or not. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Because the thing is, I get to a Shadow Ball because of this, which gets a shield off him. If he had come in with A9, there's no way my Trev gets to a move, I don't think. So, it was an aggressive play for sure. It makes sense. And my back line is kind of sketched out by this Venusaur. I come in with A9. I get denied, unfortunately, because of 1-turn lag. But it's not the end of the world. I let it go. I figured even if it was a Sludge, Azu has so much energy, I can put it on Azu. I expected him to catch here. I expected him to catch here on his A9, so I throw my play rough to try and big brain him, and then it doesn't work out. But luckily, he shielded. If he no-shields that, I'm kind of screwed. If he no-shielded that, I'm kind of screwed. I look like a fool again, like when I Shadow Balled the Noctowl. Yeah, but we land the play rough. Even if he gets to a Gleam here, I know I have to take the Gleam, because I know Venusaur has a Frenzy. I should live a Gleam there. I have the Ice Beam loaded. Luckily, he didn't get to the Gleam, right? 3 bubbles KO'd versus 4 Powder Snows. He needed to get there. Ice Beam takes out Venu. And that is a Game 1 win for us. I was going to say a Game 1 win for the good guys, but Dejan's a very good guy, too. It's our channel, right? It's our channel, so we can say we're the good guys. Both thinking about what we want to run. Should be locking in soon. And there we are. Okay. Game number 2. And I catch the perfect lead for this line of 3 I'm running, where I'm double weak to A9 in the back. So to catch it with the G-Fisk is really nice. My Noctowl looks quite strong. He's going to go start letting the weather balls fly. Just throwing a weather ball here. Then he goes straight into Sableye. And I go into Knock. And this is just like really clever play from Dijon. So this is a shiny Shadow Sableye. And you're going to see I have a rank 1 Noctowl. And double Foul Play plus Shadow Claw essentially takes out my Noctowl. So I actually did look at this matchup before when I was scrimming in this tournament, because I did like consider Shadow Sableye. I think it looks pretty fun. I just don't have a great one to build, or maybe I do. I just don't have the dust. But he goes for another one here, and I'm thinking like, crap, dude. Like if I shield this, he has a Weather Ball loaded, so then I just lose CMP anyway on the Weather Ball. So like I can't shield this, and then we end up simul KOing. And now we're going to both wait till the last second to come in. His A9 is low. I figure it's probably Venusaur in the back. I know he likes the Venusaur. And also from his perspective, Azu beats everything other than Venusaur. So he kind of has to bring the Venusaur, in my opinion. No one really mentioned that. People kept saying, like, why does he keep bringing the Venusaur? In my opinion, that's probably why. Azu beats everything outside of Venusaur. So that's probably why he felt like he had to bring it. Or maybe he just liked it in addition to that. I don't know. I'm debating whether to shield here. I decide to shield. Like a half a second left. And I just throw the Shadow Ball right away. And once again, I do remember that he has a Weather Ball banked. So that's also like in my mind. Because I'm thinking like, if I shield this right, he can just combo play me with a Weather Ball. So I decided to let this go. Also, Venusaur is in Rock Slide range, so that's helpful. I probably like lost track a little bit of Venu's energy at this point, so I just throw right away. I'm just like, I'm just gonna throw right away and get rid of this. I don't want to risk him getting to a move here. And now it's just a race. I still have a shield, so A9 needs double Weather Ball. And the commentators, I think at this point, thought A9 had the double Weather Ball, but it does not. It's actually one short. I asked him at the point, I was like, do you have double? And he's like, no, I'm literally a few energy away. And we barely get to the Rock Slide. What a well-played game by Dijon. I mean, on paper, right, my team kind of hard counter-ish team comped his. But by dancing around, managing energy, getting a shield advantage, like, I guess he didn't get a shield advantage until later. No, he didn't get a shield advantage, but by dancing around and managing energy, it literally came down to one fast move in the end. So, pretty insane. Well played by him. And at this point, we are 1 win away from becoming the Knoxville champion. And here we go, man. Just trying to develop a line I think will be strong for the final game. What do we end up going with? We end up going with Trev, A9, G-Fisk. And to just give you like a quick thing of like how my brain might work in these types of games is like, okay, Trev, A9, G-Fisk. So let's say worst case scenario, we lead against Sableye or A9. Well, then I could go in with my own A9 and he doesn't have a great A9 response, right? Probably G-Fisk is his best response or Azu. So get shield advantage if we can, maybe flip switch if we can, and then we'd get G-Fisk aligned with the A9 or the Sableye. So just pretty simple like that. And also he kept bringing the he kept bringing the Venusaur. So one thing I had in my mind as a strategy was like, if I bring 3 things that can all handle Venusaur, switch advantage might not be as important. So I have 2 very solid Venusaur enters with my Trev and my A9. He swaps A9. I'm going to go G-Fisk. And I'm already thinking at this point, like this matchup has just started, right? But I'm already thinking I don't necessarily need to win this matchup. I could potentially lose this matchup, farm down, and it's probably Sableye in the back, right? It's probably Sableye, like Venusaur double Trev counter. And if I get a shield advantage with my Trev against Sableye, A9 just sweeps. So that's what I'm thinking already. I was a little bit slow on the swap, so he's several fast moves ahead. He gets off the weather ball. I don't CMP. Gonna make sure I get off this rock slide before he potentially gets to another weather ball. He has to make a decision whether he wants to go down 2 shields or not. He decides to let it go through. He has to throw the weather ball to avoid getting mud shot down. See me nod in my head because I'm like, this is good. Once again, my Trev is very safe. So I'm up a shield. I lose switch, but I can farm down here with Trev. And even if it's a Trev counter, right? Even if it's Sableye, my A9's gonna be up a shield. So it is the Sableye, the Shiny Shadow styling. I go straight for the Shadow Ball. Either I do a ton of damage or I get the final shield. I feel like Seed Bomb is just like an unnecessary bait. So he shields it. I swap in A9. And at this point, I think Dijon was like, GG's, man. And I did not want to hear that. I've been in these situations before. So I literally was counting out loud at this point. I was like 8, 9, 10. Like I was counting out loud his Sableye Shadow Claws to make sure I didn't like miscount, allow him to throw a move. I get off the weather ball, and I know his switch clock isn't up yet. So I don't do anything fancy here. I know his switch clock isn't up yet, so I'm just going to throw this weather ball right away. Not do anything fancy. Just get off this weather ball right away. As DeFi said, this is going to sting. Does a ton of damage to Shadow Venu. Nearly one-shot it. A couple powder snows. And then we powder snow down, man. And we take the Grand Championship. And just like that, dude. We're able to get our second ever Play Pokemon regional win. You see a little fist bump to some of my friends, my team in the crowd, and just feeling excited, feeling relieved. I don't know if it really like hit me. I don't know if it really hit me right there until like a little bit later. But yeah, just really excited to overcome a couple of tough losses I had previously in this Play Pokemon circuit, and really play to the best of my abilities in this one, because I felt like, in a sense, not to discredit anything from some of my opponents that beat me in previous ones, but I felt like I beat myself, right? I made some really bad misplays, like the Shadow Ball, the Noctowl against Dunebug. I made like 3 separate misplays all within the same game. Gotta give credit to Jay Mills and to Dunebug for beating me. But I also like was really upset at myself because I felt like I beat myself more than anything. And we were able to get the win. After this, they were pulling me backstage for the interview, and Wadage said to me, like, hey, Rise, how many games did you lose this tournament? And I looked at him, I was like, let me think. I lost one against you, I lost one against Onion Frank, and then I like couldn't think of any more. And he's like, that was it. That was it. So I only dropped 2 games total in this tournament, and finished with an 18-2 overall record, which is pretty cool, pretty crazy. And I'm gonna skip ahead here to the interview with Alpha Phi, because if you haven't seen it, I got some nice feedback. I think people seem to like my interview. I did think about what I wanted to say in case I was able to win. So the way I kind of end this interview is something I had like kind of thought about, and something I wanted to talk about.
And Speediest, I'm here with our grand champion of Knoxville for Pokemon Go Masters. How are you feeling, Rise?
I'm very happy, of course. I just feel very fortunate. Like I said in the last interview, these tournaments are everyone is so high level. In Pokemon Go PvP, like the skill cap and the skill difference between everybody at the top is so close. That I just feel very fortunate, and I think we should give a round of applause and credit to all the other players that competed this weekend, because these can go any way, and I'm fortunate to be the last one standing.
So you are the first person to qualify for both in the Masters division. You have won 2 regional champions, so you've also earned the travel awards. How do you manage to stay so humble?
I don't know, man. I think it comes from I have a sports background. I was like a basketball player growing up, and I just always appreciated like win and lose. Be humble in victory, be humble in defeat. I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a Packer fan, and Vince Lombardi once said, like, when you get to the end zone, act like you've been there before. So I try and preach that mantra.
Humble in victory, humble in defeat, but you didn't see any defeat today. I was looking at the matchup against Dijon, and I thought that the Shadow Venusaur might pose you a bit of a trouble. Both of you ran double fairy teams. How did you prepare to go up against that Shadow Venusaur?
Well, my Trevenant was really, his Venusaur was pretty good, but my Trevenant was also really good. And one thing I liked about the matchup was nothing on his team resisted Shadow Ball from Trevenant. So even in my Trevenant's bad matchups, like Alola Ninetales or Sableye, my Shadow Ball was still very threatening to him. So I always tried to bring enough coverage for it. So like pretty simple ABB like Azu and 2 Venusaur counters type thing.
Yeah, we got to see that there were a number of teams this weekend that were a little bit weak to Trevenant without that Noctowl kind of coverage to be able to soak up that energy. Are there any more thoughts that you have today, or are you just kind of looking forward to relaxing for the rest of your day?
Yeah, I actually, I just wanted to talk about, I've had a couple of tough losses this weekend, this season rather, because I started PvP during the pandemic in 2020, right? And I had kind of this quick rise, if you will, where I was like on the GBL leaderboards and winning some Sylph tournaments, and then after 2 years, it all culminated in winning the Milwaukee Regional. And after that peak, after that high, it's like, where do you go from there, right? And I had some tough losses, man. I lost day 2 at Worlds in London to Lurgan Rocket. He just outplayed me. I felt like I could have played a lot better. In Sylph World Championship, I got clobbered by an Indian battler named Vroom Vroom Pow. So I was 1 game away from World Champion. And then, of course, Dunebug was probably the toughest loss of my career mentally for me, because I was up 2-0. I was 1 game away from Worlds, and he reverse swept me. So after that, I was pretty down. My mom could tell you, she picked me up from the airport, and I kind of held it in. But when I got in the car with her, I was very emotional and just kind of let it all out. And I just wanted to say, like, I reflected a lot on that. I reflected on like mentality and the fear of failure. And I think part of me thought the fear of failure was like getting on stage and making a big misplay, right? Like shadow balling a Noctowl, for example.
Or throwing a play rough into a Shadow Venusaur?
I was expecting him to catch.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
People probably thought I did it again. But it's not, fear of failure isn't that. Fear of failure isn't me misplaying on stage or me losing a big game. Fear of failure would be if I let that embarrassing misplay get the better of me and I didn't try again and I didn't compete again, because it's not about losing the game. It's not about making the misplay. It's about having the strength of character to tolerate the fact that you may have not been on top that day, but you can learn from it, you can come back, and you can rise to the occasion, baby. And today we did that.
Oh my, what a wonderful anecdote and wonderful story. Thank you so much for your time today, Rise. Thank you, and congratulations again on taking the victory here, a well-deserved one. Let's go ahead and shoot it to a short break. We'll be back with you soon.
So, friends, yeah, pretty awesome weekend, man. I was able to, it was really reminiscent of Milwaukee, to be honest, in a lot of ways. Like I practiced quite a bit. I didn't practice quite as much as I did for Milwaukee. Milwaukee, I kind of went all out, like for 2 weeks, scrimming for like an hour every night. For this, I'd say it was more so like kind of the week before, last few days before, I put in a lot of scrims. And I felt good about my team comp. Well, I don't know if that might be a lie, because I was a little bit worried about not running a counter user. I was also really concerned with Abomasnow. Once again, if I can, I can't bring up my phone here in this tab, it looks like, but with my team of 6, really weak to Abomasnow, and I just kind of took the gamble that I wasn't going to face one. Registeel was also kind of hit or miss against my team. I had 3 good matchups against it, 3 terrible matchups against it, so Registeel was a little scary. But the team worked out well, because the switch I made the last minute of putting Azu in for Lantern, I saw quite a few Umbreon teams. Azu was really good against the Umbreon teams, and I saw very few Registeel teams, and I was a little bit softer to Reggie than I was to G-Fisk, so I think it worked out. The Shadow Swampert was really good. Everything on my team had a lot of play in certain games. I think, honestly, the most meta Pokemon were probably the ones that shined the least, like G-Fisk, Noctowl. Those probably were 2 of my lesser used, and I'd say A9, Shadow Swampert, Trevenant, and Azu were probably my top 4 for sure. It's hard to pick like one MVP. Someone asked what my MVP Pokemon of the tournament was. I don't know. It really depended on the matchup, because some matchups Swampert was the MVP, some matchups A9 was the MVP, some matchups Trevenant was the MVP. Probably like the final 2 is probably Trevenant. So yeah, man. Really lucky, really fortunate, really happy. It's cool when preparation. They say luck's when preparation meets opportunity. So call it lucky, but I think it is a combination of a lot of things. Is preparation. It was the work I put in and the fundamental skills of PvP, and also definitely getting a bit fortunate where some of your leads work out and your team comps work out. And there were a couple of games in there, probably like against Wadage and against Snots pretty early on, right, where I could have potentially lost if I hadn't made some certain plays. Maybe if they had read my team better, like if Snots had come in with Goon against Swampert and saved the Noctowl for Trev, or if Wadage had simply let his Noctowl go and put it all on A9 with a shield, he might have won. But I also like had a few plays that I could have played better. So you never know what's going to happen. You go with the flow, and it all worked out in the end. So I couldn't be more thankful, couldn't be more grateful. I don't take these tournaments lightly, and I don't take winning one for granted, because I've said before after Milwaukee, like, who knows if I'll ever be able to win one of these again. They're very difficult, and we were able to do it less than a year later. Milwaukee was last June, right? So it's February. So around 8 months, a little over 8 months later, we were able to capture our second regional title. And I'm looking forward to see y'all in Japan, see y'all in the future, see you for this new Go Battle League season, where I'll start putting out some content for y'all. And all that said, I thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe if you are new. And all that said, thank you once again. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.